years ago, if I had walked into a business and asked, is your team using artificial intelligence, AI, most business owners would have laughed. Today, if I walk into a business and ask the same question, the answer is usually probably in some way, shape or form. And that is exactly the problem that we have right now. Because I think one of the biggest legal risks facing businesses right now isn't AI itself. AI is very progressive, it's very helpful. It's the fact that employees are using AI every single day and most employers have absolutely no idea or control over how it's being used. Now, before anyone says that I'm not anti-AI, far from it, I love AI. We use AI in our own business in many different ways to improve the speed of processes and systems. Many of our clients use AI. I think it has the potential to transform productivity in a way that we have not seen for decades. But like every single powerful tool that is created, it creates risks. And the problem is that most businesses have adopted the tool before they've thought fully about the risks and what's involved. Let's imagine a fairly typical scenario. You employ a member of staff, they're hardworking, they're proactive, they want to be more efficient in their day-to-day role. They discover ChatGPT or another AI platform and they start using it to help them draft their emails. Then they use it for reports. Then they start using it for customer communications, then contracts, then internal documents, and then strategic plans. Before long, they're using AI every day for everything. Many business owners would see that as a success story. Productivity is improving, work is getting done faster, everybody's happy. And in many ways, this is a success story. But here's the important question. What exactly is being uploaded into those systems? Because that's where things get very interesting and potentially expensive for you as a founder. Imagine one of your employees copies and pastes a customer list into an AI platform, or a confidential client proposal, or a pricing model, or any commercially sensitive information, or employee data, or financial forecasts, or acquisition plans, or source code, or a draft shareholders agreement, or details of a customer dispute you're dealing with, or health information, or disciplinary records. Would you know? Because many employers at the moment wouldn't. And that is where the legal issues start appearing. The first issue is data protection. Businesses have spent years talking about GDPR. We've been thinking about privacy notices, data processing agreements, information security. Then someone uploads personal data into an AI tool without thinking twice about it. Now, whether that creates a compliance issue depends on the specific platform, the information involved, and how it's actually being used. But what it demonstrates is that many businesses have governance frameworks for old, out-of-date risks and no governance framework for new risks that are developing right now. And that is becoming increasingly dangerous. The second issue is confidentiality. This one worries me even more. Think about how businesses are actually operating day to day. They compete through information, whether that information is customer relationships, pricing strategies, commercial plans, product development, operational know-how, acquisition opportunities. All of these things create a competitive advantage for the business. Now imagine employees are routinely sharing aspects of that information with external AI platforms. They're not doing it maliciously, they're not doing it intentionally, simply because they're trying to do their jobs. You start to see the issue. Many businesses have spent years protecting confidential information through contracts, restrictive covenants, confidentiality clauses, and information security policies. Yet they have no policy whatsoever dealing with AI, or they've just used a template. It's a huge blind spot in businesses now. The third issue I'm seeing is intellectual property. This is where things become even more interesting. Who owns AI-generated content? What happens when AI assists with creative work? Your marketing materials, your software development, written content, commercial documents, design work. Now, the legal landscape is still developing, but what I can tell you is that many businesses haven't even begun asking these questions yet. They're already using the technology, but they're not thinking through the consequences at all or in any real detail. And here's the thing that I find really fascinating. Every major technological shift follows a similar pattern. The tech arrives first, the governance arrives later, the law arrives later. We're seeing exactly the same thing happen here with AI. Businesses are adopting it rapidly. Employees are experimenting with it on a daily basis. The legal framework is still catching up, and that is creating uncertainty. But uncertainty doesn't mean businesses should be doing nothing and not using AI at all. In fact, I actually think the opposite is totally true. The businesses that will benefit most from AI are likely to be the businesses that implement sensible controls early. Not because they want to restrict innovation within their organisation, that is not the intention, but because they want to use the technology safely and appropriately. Think about it. Most businesses already have policies that cover internet use, data protection, information security, social media use, disciplinary matters, expenses, flexible working, all sorts of things. Yet many have no AI policy whatsoever, despite the fact that employees are probably using AI every single day. That just doesn't really make much sense. Now let's talk about this from a leadership perspective, because I think this is where many founders are potentially making a mistake. The natural reaction is often, let's just ban it. No one can use AI. I don't think that's realistic, and I don't think it makes sense in the world that we're living in right now. It's just not practical. Frankly, I actually just don't think it's desirable at all. The reality is that AI is becoming part of the modern workplace. Trying to eliminate it completely is a bit like trying to eliminate email 20 years ago. You're fighting a losing battle in that one, and it's probably not going to happen. The better question us as founders should be asking ourselves is, how do we use it responsibly? How do we protect confidential information within the organisation? How do we manage those data protection risks I talked about? And how do we preserve intellectual property? Importantly, how do we maintain quality control? How do we ensure employees understand the boundaries within AI? These are the leadership questions that we should be asking ourselves, not technology questions. And the businesses that answer those questions most effectively and have a plan are likely to gain a significant advantage. Because here's what I think happens next. Over the next few years, we're going to see a widening gap start to emerge. On one side, you'll see businesses that fully embrace AI in a very thoughtful manner. They implement policies, they train staff, they create governance frameworks, they understand the risks that are involved, and they capture the benefits. But on the flip side, businesses will just simply hope for the best in some cases. They'll have no policies, they'll have no guidance, they'll provide no staff training, there will be no oversight, there will just be assumption. And assumption is very rarely a good risk management strategy. The irony is that the businesses most exposed are often not the largest businesses. Large organisations tend to have compliance teams. They have well thought out detailed policies. They have governance structures, risk committees. The businesses I would worry about are the growing founder-led businesses, the businesses that are moving quickly, the businesses that are ambitious, the businesses where people are encouraged to solve problems and move fast. Because those businesses often adopt new technologies faster than they adopt new governance, just to keep up. And that is where the legal risk starts to emerge. So if you're a founder watching this, I think there are 3 questions worth asking yourself. The first question, do you actually know how your team is using AI today? The second question, have you given them any guidance on what is and isn't appropriate to use AI with? And thirdly, if a regulator, an investor, a buyer, or a customer asked about your approach to AI tomorrow, would you have a credible answer for them? Because whether you love AI or you hate it is kind of totally irrelevant at this stage. Your employees are probably already using it. The real question is whether your business is prepared for that reality. And for many businesses, the answer is probably no.